Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our internship provider orientation as we start our summer SYIP 2025 program on July 1st. My name is Dr. Lupe Ferran Diaz, and I am the proud Administrative Director of the Department of Career and Technical Education at Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Our responsibility is to deliver the SYIP program, and we are now entering our 10th year. Just recently, about a week ago, we celebrated being named Program of the Year by the Children's Trust. And that's thanks to all of the employers, parents, and students that have become a part of this amazing program that's available to students in this community as well as employers. So I welcome you to the orientation, and joining me today are several staff members. I'll first start off with Faith Kennedy, and I'll introduce her later on as she takes part in this program, as well as Julie Kennedy and Maite Rodriguez and Ms. Tanya McHugh, who's also on the call. If you have any questions as we continue with the presentation, please feel free to place them in the Q&A, and if we have an opportunity afterwards, we'll go through and make sure that all of your questions are answered. If by chance you have a question later on or we didn't get to you, please feel free to call our hotline, which you'll see in several of the slides. It's 305-693-3005. So today, what my purpose today and what we plan to do is to share some policies and procedures with you so that we can ensure that we have a smooth program running this coming summer. We are proposing to service 3,350 students at least, at minimum, through this program. And again, the Summer Youth Internship Program is brought to you under the auspices and donations of CareerSource South Florida, the Children's Trust, Miami-Dade County Government, EdFed, the Foundation for New Education Initiatives, and I would like to formally make the announcement that another major donor is the DeLuca Foundation. So with that said, let's start with the first slide. First of all, some SYIP internship. Oh, before we do that, I'm sorry, we do have our main presenter and guest from the JW Marriott, from the Marriott Marquis Development Office, who's been an employer of the SYIP program for several years now. She is Director of Human Resources, and that is Galina Ilcheva. She's joining us today to share some best practices with you and possibly even answer some questions if you pose them in the Q&A. Galina, it's a pleasure to have you here today, and thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. It is great to be here, and I look forward to supporting the employers that maybe are taking the first steps into the program. Would you like me to share a little bit more about my experience?
Yes, please do.
So thank you so much again for inviting me to speak in regards to my experience with the program. MDM Hotel Group operates several hotels in downtown Miami and in South Miami. So we started, I guess, partnering a little bit before the pandemic. The pandemic stopped us, but then after we restarted with the pandemic, I'm a very proud host to a lot of youth and high school students. Immediately after restarting, we were hosting about 5 or 6 students only. Last year, we reached closer to 15, and this year we're looking to host even more. I think one of the things that excites me the most in the program is, obviously, from human resources standpoint, if you want talent nowadays, you have to develop it. And this program provides us the best opportunity where an employer could meet a future associate, right? I find that us giving in on the time that we spend to mentor those students is something that is a great return on investment eventually down the road. We have gotten quite a few students that are actually graduating this year, and they're already reaching out to us to ask, okay, I'm ready to start now my career full-time. Obviously, we all know hospitality provides a lot of flexibility on schedules, and I'm also a graduate of Miami-Dade College and FIU. So I have like this big plan in my head where I not only host the students here after eventually show them the opportunities that they could even stay local to continue their education and ultimately keep this labor force back in town. At the beginning, I think when we started, we all thought that, okay, what are we going to do with them, right? What's the plan? What am I going to show them? Some of the pushbacks that a lot of employer might receive is, oh, we don't have time, right? We cannot spend all this time because everybody's very busy, so we don't have time to mentor. And one of the advices that I give everybody is think about this as you're doing your job, but you're narrating, right? Instead of just clicking on a computer or communicating with a colleague via email, you tell this kid that is shadowing you what you're doing. And then you start providing them the opportunities to work with other people, communicate freely, you know, public speak in a way, show them the details of the job, start up their passion that they have started at school, learning certain things. That's, I guess, one of my biggest advice on how to work around the pushback that sometimes you might receive from top leadership. What I also find is that in terms of now employee engagement, we have increased our employee engagement because when you start a job, you always think about, okay, I'm starting with all those big ideas, with this big passion. And then when you start doing it every day, you might lose some of the passion, right? And we're all human. We might end up focusing a little bit more on the stress of the day versus the passion of the day. So by us remembering and telling our stories to those high school students, we also become warm and fuzzy on the inside because we remember why we started this career, right? I find that our leaders here are very engaged in the program. Now, I will tell you, last year when we hosted the 15 kids on their last day, they were crying. We were crying. Everybody was crying because, you know, they created such a happy atmosphere around us and, those innocent questions that they were coming up with. And then, funny part, they were crying and the feedback that I got is like, oh my God, I thought that I'm going to spend all my summer working, but now I really want to come back again tomorrow. Can I come? So I mean, just hearing this, it's allowing us to understand why this is all worth it, right? Why this program is so successful, why it's so important for our youth to have this opportunity. I literally preach to all the kids that Miami so much and they need to take advantage because they have unique opportunity for so many of their last years where they could come 1 year with me, next year with another employer. So you get to experience things that 10 years ago didn't exist, right? When the program didn't exist. So now I look forward to July 1st again. I'm not ready for the end of the program because it's going to be a lot of crying again. But I'm extremely excited to host the next group of interns. It's going to be amazing program. And you know very well, I'm extremely grateful to all the supporters. I'm extremely grateful to you from growing the program. Faith and Julie have been a great support to me when I first started the steps and like taking the first couple of interns and then increasing the number. They held my hand through the process, and now I could say that I could do this with my eyes closed, understanding the schedules, understanding how the interview process goes. For all the employers, my big advice is start early, right? I personally had my team the moment the students started applying. We started immediately to interview and provide the opportunities that they were looking for. Also, I think the more employers are engaged in this, it is kind of the better, because I also find that in certain areas where we have our student population living, we don't have sufficient amount of employers. So I think it's very important for us as employers and as, I guess, the adults in this community to do our part for the youth, because you know uh you know very well my story. I have a 5-year-old, so eventually when he's grown up enough, he'll be part of this program as well, because it is important. We're one community, we're one city, we need to do it together. And those kids are our future, right? They're the future of the labor force, they're the future of leadership, they're the future of politics, they're the future of everything that's around us. So I feel like this is what our role is. Aside from whatever our daily job is, we need to do something for the community and for our future. So MDM is one of the groups that is focused on mentorship and community. So I am extremely proud that they are allowing me to do this. Our owners are like firm proponents of support. So I found my happy place, and getting this program going every year is like the best part of my job, I would say. But that is in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Galina. Thank you for that advice. Thank you for giving our students that opportunity. For many of them, their first entree into the world of work. And I know that you have hired students in the past full time. I want to get back to something that you said also. We are one community. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have been able to service the thousands of students that we've been giving this opportunity to in the past 10 years or so, right? You also mentioned that your team cried, and the students also seeing them present. For the employers that are on the call, the students have assignments to do on a weekly basis. We keep it limited because we know that they're working, but they do have to turn in a final assignment. And in many of our organizations that participate and have multiple students, even those that have one or two, the employer has an opportunity to present to the entire staff what the students have learned, with some guidelines that we give them. But their assignments are submitted because they get graded for this program, and I'll go into that in a few minutes. But again, on behalf of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, I'd like to thank the MDM Development Company for being a partner with us and for employing the students that you've been hiring for the past few years, and hopefully they have been of value to your organization. I know that several of them are still working with the Marriott, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so let's start with our internship basics. First of all, how long is the program? How many hours do the students need to complete? And who are these students that are in the program? First of all, it starts July 1st, it ends August 2nd. Notice those dates because it's important that students accumulate the 150 hours only during that time period. If you have a requirement for a student to start before July 1st or even work after August 2nd, that would be something, an arrangement made between you and the student, whether it's community service hours, whether you decide to keep them afterwards, that's all up to you and the student. But the hours earned and payment given is only during these particular dates, July 1st through August 2nd. It amounts to approximately 30 to 35 hours weekly. Again, we call this a work-based or industry-based learning experience. Our superintendent believes that every student should have this opportunity to experience what it's like to actually be working in industry before they graduate from high school. The students that are in this program are anywhere between 10th up through 12th grade. They're between the ages of 15 through 18. They must reside in Miami-Dade County. They must be eligible to work, and they must be currently enrolled in Miami-Dade County Public Schools or a public charter school. We have currently 25 charter schools that are also part of this program. Again, I mentioned earlier the sponsors, and you'll see their names at the bottom of each slide. And we need to add the DeLuca Foundation, who just donated $1.5 million for the next 3 years for this program. And those are the funds that are used to pay the students as well as to pay the teachers that act as internship supervisors. All of our students have accident insurance, so it doesn't go against your workman's compensation in your organization if, God forbid, there was to be an accident of some sort. We do ask that background checks, if you're doing any type of background fingerprinting or checking backgrounds, that we do not cover the fee for that, and neither should the student. So I just wanted to make that very, very clear. Also, Florida child labor laws, and that's the next slide. We adhere to the Florida child labor laws, and I want to spend a minute or two on these rules because we also get audited, by the way. They look very carefully at these timesheets. First of all, they are minors. Minors cannot work more than 6 consecutive days in any 1 week. They need to have at least 1 day off in a 1-week period. Minors can also not work more than 4 consecutive hours without a break. And on the timesheet, which by the way is electronic, we provide those. We must use, they can use your timesheets, of course, but our timesheets must be submitted on a weekly basis electronically. Those breaks must be documented on the timesheet. If the minor is 15 years of age, they can work up to 8 hours a week during the summer, up to 40 hours a week. But they cannot work before 7 o'clock in the morning or after 9 p.m. Those are students that are 15 years of age. If you happen to have one, we will notify you to let you know through the teacher supervisor who will be assigned to your workplace and to the student. If you want more information on child labor laws, we have it in the QR code, and this presentation will be sent to all of the individuals that are part of this meeting this morning. And by the way, let me also mention that parents of students are also required to go through an orientation. So the parents are pretty well versed in the requirements also. In addition, we do have an internship provider handbook that is on our website. It's also on miamiinterns.org. It will list all of the rules and procedures, how to integrate the student into the internship environment. They're really not your employees because we're paying them, but we want you to treat them just like any other employee to make sure that they're following the rules of your organization. These students do have assignments that they turn in electronically. They do not have to report to the school. They turn this all in electronically. They also have an e-portfolio online where they are documenting their work. Sometimes they're putting in their videos. We do this because we are finding that many employers now are asking, don't show me, don't tell me what you can do, but show me. And some of them, if they're in extracurricular activities, they even upload videos and projects. The timesheets I mentioned are submitted electronically on miamiinterns.org. They are approved, must be approved by the teacher supervisor and also signed by the worksite supervisor. Next slide. So how are students graded? First of all, this is the only course that I'm aware of in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and we have thousands of courses that we offer in this school district, being the 3rd largest school district in the United States, where an employer, not a teacher, actually contributes 50% of the student's grade. That's why it's important for the students not to be absent more than twice during the 5 weeks. They are already informed that if they're going to be absent, they must notify, of course, the company that they're working for, as well as their teacher supervisor. They cannot take vacations during the 5-week period. If the company is going to be closed, let's say for the July 4th holiday for any given time, a day or two or whatever, that's fine, but they have to make up the hours so that they can accumulate the 150 hours during that time period. They are not allowed to take vacations during this 5-week internship period. So there is a progress report, which is a midterm report. The students do a self-evaluation. They have questions to answer about the organization, about their teacher supervisor, about their program. how it went for them during the 5 weeks. And then, of course, the employer has an evaluation. It's about 25 questions. It doesn't take a long time, but we do encourage employers to sit with these students and go through the evaluation observation with them, just like you would with a regular employee. Many times they heed the advice of adults, not necessarily their teacher, or in some cases, not even their parents, but they will of their mentors and their worksite supervisors. If the student is in a what we call a NAF Career Academy, there is a separate evaluation that is emailed to you, to the employer directly. So again, the grade calculation, because these students are not only getting high school credit, many of them, and last year we had close to 500 students who received college credit through Miami-Dade College. They are completing the assignments that are given to them by the college, as well as that final assignment that they're required to do for us, as well as their timesheets on a weekly basis. So 50% are their assignments, the other 50% is your assessment of their work. And now we're going to get into the internship provider agreement and how to go through miamiinterns.org. We've made it very easy for employers to use. And I'd like to introduce Faith Kennedy, who's a staff member here. And she is the first person that all employers usually meet and work with. And I want to say that Faith has also been formerly in her other life, worked in industry and hired interns herself in the organization that she worked with. So Faith, it's all on you now. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Diaz. And also as a provider, I was also a parent, so I also see how wonderful this program is to the students. On your screen, you're going to see the internship provider agreement. You're going to get this in an email from me when you register. It's an electronic link that you're going to sign and submit. Please remember the students cannot start working with you unless we have this on file. So this is very important that you sign it, and it just has the basic rules that you are agreeing to. Okay, next slide, please. When you go to miamiinterns.org, this is the first screen that you're going to see. On the top right-hand corner, you're going to see sign in. If you've previously registered, you're going to use your email and password. If you've registered for previous years, but haven't yet registered for this year, you're still going to sign in, and then it's going to ask you to apply for the current season. If you've not registered, you're going to go click on the sign that says register, and then it's going to take you to the next page, which we're going to see in a moment. And this is where you're going to register. You're going to put in your first name, your last name, the telephone number, the email that you'll be using, and the password that you're going to create. Next page, please. Now here's where you're going to put not your name, but you're going to put the name of the company website, your FEIN number. We do check to make sure that you are registered with the state of Florida, the business address, and any suite number. We also, please remember, the business has to be located in Miami-Dade County. If you have a business address outside of Miami-Dade County, but the students are going to be going to a different location, that's fine. It has to be a Miami-Dade County address. The next is where you're going to register your jobs. You're going to add your job post. You're going to put the description. Please make it as descriptive as possible. Just intern isn't really going to work. You want to make it answer the phones or assisting front desk, anything that'll make the intern interested in it. You're also going to collect if you're going to select, if it's the position is on site, remote, or hybrid. Now with remote, they still have to physically be in Miami-Dade County. They can't go on, as Dr. Diaz previously said, they cannot go on vacation even if it's a remote position. That's very, very important. Hybrid is if you have the student working maybe 2 days remote and 3 days on site. All of those are acceptable. Okay. Next slide, please. Now on this page, you're going to view all of your current job posts, and this is where you're going to make edits. You're going to click on the eye. It actually looks like an eye icon to make a job post inactive when you have completed the hiring process. Once a job post is inactive, you won't receive any more applications for this job post, as the student will not be able to see it anymore. So once you have filled up your 10 interns, please go ahead and put that line right through the active. If you decide that, hey, I don't have enough and I want to go ahead and change it, all you do is go back under jobs, edit it, and go ahead and make it active again. Okay, next slide. Okay, and here you will only be able to see the student applicants from students who have applied to one of your job. So you're not gonna be able to see all 4,000 students. You're only gonna see the ones that have applied. On this page, you're gonna be able to schedule the interviews, offer a job, or reject the student application. And to the right, you're gonna see it's very, very, very important that when you interview a student and you want to offer them the job, you have to offer that on the website. And then the student has to accept or reject it. It's not enough for you to verbally tell them you're working here, I'm offering the job. You have to do it because that way we're not going to know. And the student has to offer, accept it or reject it. The student has 7 days to accept it or reject it, or the system will automatically reject it on their behalf. So let's go to the next page. Now you can track all of your upcoming interviews by selecting hire on the top bar and then interviews. You can cancel an interview, offer a job, or reject a student's application. Again, you must officially offer the job through miamientrance.org, and the student must accept on their end to complete the hiring process. In reference to the interviews, you don't have to do it on the website. You can reach out to the student on the phone or email if you choose, but again, you have to offer them the job on the website. Okay, next slide, please. Now here's where you're going to review the status of job offer. If you see approved, that means the student has accepted the job and has been officially placed with your company. Please reach out to the student before the internship begins on July 1st to let them know what their schedule will be and any other relevant information that they will need. Students should work 30 hours a week, and the schedule is set by the company. We do tell the students that it is up to you to schedule, and we do advise them to reach out to you before the internship starts to find out what time, who they're going to see, and what they want, what you want them to wear. And if there's a uniform, please supply them with the uniform beforehand and just make the students aware. Okay, next slide, please. Now, a list of all of your hired interns will be found on your intern page. You'll be able to view their contact information and resume if you need. You see it under My Interns. You'll see Jane Doe, and you'll see all their information. Okay, next slide.
Sounds like you're referencing access to someone's contact information.
Okay, and here's the timesheets. Again, the timesheets are to access the timesheets that have been submitted for approval. You're going to click interns on the top of the screen and then timesheets. You can filter to see the timesheets that are pending your review, been rejected by you, or that have been approved. That once the student does the timesheets, it first goes to the teacher to check all the Florida labor laws, and then it'll go to you to be approved. Please do not sit on these. It's very important that when you get it, you submit it right away because this does affect the student's hours and ultimately their pay. Okay, next slide, please. Now on the timesheet detail page, you can review each timesheet for any errors. Students must document a 30-minute break every 4 hours. Students who are 15 cannot work more than 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week per the Florida child labor laws. If you need to reject a timesheet, please include a note so that the student knows why and they can resubmit a corrected version. So that's where you would put the notes. It's very, very important to please use those notes because that's what the student and the teacher see. Now, an approved timesheet will ensure that each student is paid correctly and on time if they are submitted by the deadlines. The teachers will communicate with you and the students, and then we will send reminders about any upcoming deadlines. Students are only going to be paid for the hours that have been approved by you. So that's very, very important that you are tracking these timesheets. Okay, next page, please. Next slide. Now, here's some more information for you on miamiinterns.org. When you're creating a profile and positions, please indicate in the job description if the internship, again, is on-site, remote, or hybrid. The interns will be applying for a position on our website, miamiinterns.org. You can schedule an online or phone interview with the intern, whatever's your preference. And you can also cancel future scheduled interview appointments if necessary. In regards to interviews, if you have students that have not are no-showed for interviews, please let me know. Send me an email with their name, because remember, this is a learning process for them, and we reach out to them to show them, hey, this is not what you should not be doing. And also, very, very important, make sure you click offer job on miamiinterns.org when you have selected your interns, after which the intern will accept or reject the offer. If the interns reject it, you will no longer be able to see them. And now I'm going to turn it back over to I believe it's Dr. Diaz, who's going to take over. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you, Dr. Diaz.
Thank you so much, Faith. And I know that there are about 2 questions. I have 9:37 on my watch here. I want to make sure that we keep abreast of time. First of all, let me just share that when the SYIP ends, you still have, as an employer, the opportunity to hire the student. If you like the student can work either after school, as part of our on-the-job training program, as part of an internship. Of course, they're not paid by us, but that would be strictly up to the organization and the student. Some companies keep the students, especially, for example, if they're at a hotel, to work weekends, or in a retail establishment, or after school hours. So that opportunity is still available for students as well as employers. The next slide, please. I wanted to share with you the slide with contact information in case you need to reach out to anyone who was on the call today, or our internship hotline, which is 305-693-3005. You can also email us at cteinternships@dadeschools.net. I believe there were a few questions that, 1 or 2 questions on the Q&A, and one of the questions was, if a student is working beyond the 150 hours, does the school district provide them with any documentation of community service hours? Yes, we do. If the hours are documented on the timesheet, any hours over and above the 150 would be considered community service hours. We do send certificates to the school, to the attention of the principal, to please award the student the certificates for community service. I believe there was another question in reference to the break. The break is not counted as part of their work hours, so that if they are working, if you can go to that question, please. I believe it was a question about if they worked from, I can't see it on my screen.
Breaks count towards their total count. So the breaks are unpaid, so they don't count.
Correct. So I think the question was something about 5.5 hours a day. That's fine. If they're working through 12:30, they have a 30-minute break. The clock starts again at 1 o'clock to 2:30. So it's another 1.5 hours. Are there any other questions that I may have missed, Julie?
I would say we recommend contacting the students directly with their contact info on their resume, like a phone. This is a learning experience, and many of them are still learning about proper email communications, and teenagers aren't the best with emails. So don't be afraid to call them. Let me see what else we had. Let's see.
And I would recommend that when it comes close to the July 1st date, that you do email them and let them know either what the attire would be, the procedure for that, as far as what to wear, what time to report, who to see the day, their first day. They're nervous also. It's their first day on the job.
Did you touch on background checks earlier? There was a question, does a supervisor need to do a background check? It's not required unless it's your company policy. But as Dr. Diaz mentioned, we ask that you cover any fee related to that. Oh, and I've gotten more than one question about, is it too late to sign up as an employer?
No, it's never too late for employers, by the way, never. Students, by the way, we did extend the deadline. And just to share with you, we are employing 3,350. That's what we have funding for, but there are 7,000 students in the pipeline. Not all have completed all of their requirements. And I also wanted to add that the employer has the final say on who gets hired. However, we want to ensure you that if the student has been on, if you interviewed the student through miamiinterns.org, they have gone through all of our procedures. So if a student shows up, but they're not, if they haven't done miamiinterns.org and they're not on that website, they probably have not completed all the requirements. But we can give you that information if you still decide to interview the student and want that student. They have until May 23rd to comply with all of our documentation necessities. Employers do not have a deadline. That is up through the point that we have to stop the interviews because of funding. And we usually do it right before we know that we're exhausting all of the funds.
And Dr. Diaz, I've gotten several questions from providers about hiring interns that were there from last year. Some of the students reach out to the providers directly. Those students still need to do the work. They still need to be approved. So if you have somebody that's reached out to you, you can't just hire them. You're not going to be able to. You need to tell them to go to miamiinterns.org.
Right. And if they're graduating in June, they're not eligible for the program. They must be currently enrolled in Miami-Dade County Public Schools or one of the approved charters that are part of this program.
Julie, somebody's asking about when the students get paid.
So there's two pay dates, July 18th and August 8th. I'm sorry. So the first payday is they get $500, but they need to have a minimum of 50 hours approved the week before because it takes us time to run those reports. So if they start later, they're behind. They're going to miss that first pay. They will get paid on the final paycheck, anything they're owed. The second pay is August 8th, and that's $1,000, or if they're owed any extra from the first payday that they missed.
Dr.
So
Diaz,
that's why it's really important to follow up on those timesheets and make sure they're approved on a timely basis. The teacher that's assigned to your students will be communicating those dates to you to remind you. And I'm sure the students will remind you as well because their pay depends on it.
Dr. Diaz, we have a good question for you. I'm a real estate agent. Can the student travel in my vehicle occasionally with me to properties for showings and creating marketing reels? So if you can touch on that.
Yeah, one of the documents that students are required to submit is a field trip form. And we tell parents that there are times when an employer will possibly take a student or have the student meet the employer at a site where they're having a meeting, for example, and the employer wants the student to experience what it's like to attend one of these meetings, maybe even take some notes or pictures, whatever the case is. So yes, if you are, I would recommend not taking them in your own automobile, have them take either public transportation or get to the place. But if you happen to do so, then you must provide us with a proof of insurance for your car and a driver's license. So I would encourage that not occur, but they can also Uber to the place wherever they must go to. But if it's within walking distance, for example, if they're working downtown or something like that, or they're meeting you at the place, that's fine. Or a parent can drop them off, let's say, or someone can drop them off.
We don't have any more questions, but I would ask if you could just reiterate, since it's helpful, the vacation policy, since that seemed to be a challenge last year.
Yeah, as I said earlier, because they are receiving academic credit, they are required to attend and participate in the internship program just like they were in school. We do allow 2 absences, and they must notify the employer as well as the assigned teacher supervisor. And by the way, the assigned teacher supervisor, that assignment, they introduce themselves to the students via email. It's not necessarily the teacher from their school. We hire about 100 teachers throughout the district, from all levels, by the way, to manage this program and to supervise, because we feel that what we call a gold internship, which is a high quality internship, must have some direction from a certified teacher also. That's the person who is the intermediary between the student and the school district. That's the that's the teacher who will grade the student, place the student's grades, attendance in the grade book. As far as vacations, We do not allow any vacations during the 5 weeks, or else they need to wait until next year. But that's why they have a few weeks before the internship and after the internship before school starts.
Let me see, that's kind of it. The deadline for students to turn in their paperwork again is May 23rd. They don't need to be hired by May 23rd, but in order to be eligible, they have to have everything in by May 23rd. And as Dr. Diaz said, I'm just gonna say it again, there's no deadline for you to apply, hire interns until we fill all of our spots, and we're sending out weekly updates of how close we are, so you don't get caught off guard. I think we're roughly around 40% at this moment of students placed. So, and it's gonna speed up real fast over the next few weeks. So we really encourage you to keep interviewing now, because once the money's gone, as Dr. Diaz said, we can't hire any more students. We'd love to hire all of the eligible students, but funding is can only go so far.
Julie, can the student work 8 hours a day? There's a question. They'd want to
Yes.
schedule 8 hours a day, 4 days a week. So that's a question there.
Yes, as long as their
Yeah.
breaks are every 4 hours and documented, that's not a problem. This question's come up more than once about background checks. They're not required. That is unless your company requires it, and Dr. Diaz touched on that already. If you do have to do background checks per your company or organization policy, we ask that fee, if there is a fee, not be put on the student. MDCPS will not cover it as well. We ask you to absorb that cost.
Dr. Diaz, there's a question. Are you allowed to offer a financial bonus from the provider? Wants to know.
Yes, you can do scholarships, you can do bonuses, you can actually put the students on your own payroll if you decide to do payroll versus the grant. However, they cannot double dip. They can't get a grant and get paid by the organization. So if you are paying the students outright on their payroll, it must be minimum wage, and we must be notified of that. And we do have companies that actually put the students on their payroll. They may be students who may currently be working for you and decide to do it as part of the internship so that they can get the academic credit also.
And students do have to be eligible to work, and that is something we verify on our end. It's nothing you have to worry, since they are given a 1099. They're not officially hired by your company. But in order to participate, they have to show eligibility, that they are allowed to work and earn an income.
And by the way, what types of businesses are these students working at? All types of businesses, by the way, whether it's retail, hospitality, automotive, for example, doctor's offices, hospitals. We have Baptist is a major employer with over 75 of our students doing internships there. We do appreciate the fact that we have many organizations doing this and opening their doors to our students. Also, the colleges have quite a few of our students who are doing internships, either with professors at the school or in offices of various departments. So it's all types of industries that are involved in this program. And these students, many of them come in already with industry certifications. Many of these certifications are the ones that are being required now by business and industry of any employee that they hire. So if they're in building trades and construction, for example, they are certified through OSHA also. They have those certifications.
Dr. Diaz, there's a question. What if they aren't a good fit for the organization? How should the organization handle that?
After they've been hired, I'm assuming. After they've started, I talked to you, you can touch on that. Take that one.
It's kind of difficult for us if you've already hired them, because then we need to find a place for them. But it's happened. It's happened. We're talking about over 3,000 employees. Can you imagine your organization hiring 3,000 employees in one shot? I mean, our percentage of students who either fail the internship or are fired is extremely low, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why we spend a lot of time making sure that they qualify and they go through the pre-internship requirements. All of these students, by the way, as of last year, have gone through the Florida Ready to Work program, which covers the soft skills. And in many of the cases that have been, where students have been fired throughout the years, let's say, it's because of some sort of human relations issue. not necessarily because of the content or they couldn't do the job. So we must be notified immediately via the teacher supervisor, and then we'll handle it on our end. But those things do happen. That's real life. It happens.
Yeah, out of the last 10 years, maybe 2 or 3 kids it happens to, so that percentage is 0.0001%. So we would hope to avoid it. But that's why you have that teacher supervisor to contact with any issues. And if it can't be resolved, we'll deal with it. But we hope that you use the interview process to find a student that is a good fit for your organization. But just like in the real world, it happens where it isn't a good fit, and we will address it and take care of it. We will not be forced to host a student if there is an issue. So do not worry. But again, it's such a small percentage that most likely won't happen.
Yeah, and last year it was just 2, I believe, and it was only solely due to their behavior because they would not get off their cell phones. They were warned. So just like you would have handled that in the real world, we handled it here. Again, it was only 2.
Yeah, just thank God we're not back to the times of the pandemic where we had 2,000 students and every other day there was a business closing and we had to handle that. How did we handle it? We did it through project-based learning, and we did remote internships in some cases. So, and many of these young people experience what it's like for an employee to be let go because they were on site at the same time. So hopefully we'll never experience that again. But it was quite an achievement for us because this community came through and employed 2,000 students, where many of these families needed somebody in their family to work because their parents were being laid off or their businesses were being closed. So kudos to these organizations for continuing to do this project in the summer. And again, I want to reiterate that Miami-Dade County Public Schools does have an annual internship program. So in case you like the student and the talent and it's congenial on both sides, then they can be hired during the school year or even after school.
And just to say, a copy of the slide deck and recording will be sent out to everyone who registered and attended, and we'll also post a copy of this recording online. So if you could share the word with your network of other organizations that you may think benefit from this, please share the word, spread the word. It is not too late, but act now because spots are filling up fast.
Julie, can you tell them where it's posted online? Because I had several questions about
It'll
that
be
last
on
time.
www.miamiinterns.org. When you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see right now there's the parent orientations that we had last month. By the end of the week, we'll have the employer one up as well.
So again, on behalf of the school district, thank you for all that you do for us. We appreciate you. We're looking forward to another exciting summer youth internship program. Can't wait for it to get started. Although I have to tell you, I pray every day, every morning, and every evening that all of our kids get home safely. So again, thank you all. Have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. We appreciate you. And you have 5 minutes left free for you. Giving it back to you.